Well, it's Friday. It is Friday. I would have started on this earlier, but Sabrina was a little under the weather today. Nothing major, but just it meant that I wasn't down here, but now I am. Many thanks, by the way, to customer Skorensky, who sent me a couple neat patches. He's in the United States Air Force, and he sent me a couple of cool patches. I had to get them back from Sebastian, who thought they were the greatest thing ever. But then I showed him that they will stick to a wool blanket, so he's been having fun with that. So thank you. And I'll get your watch out to you tomorrow, Mr. Skorensky. It's Friday. Nothing else to say about it. Look at this tuft of hair. At least I've got hair, I guess. I hope y'all's week was good. It's been a productive week here. Just chugging along, making better progress, which is nice. I'm getting there. I'm glad to see the weekend. Tomorrow, the garage is a total wreck. It's been a long time since I've been out there, and so anyway, Sabrina surprised me with buying me stuff to help me set up and clean the garage so I can start working on the MG. And so I'm going to clean the garage tomorrow, clean it out and get it all set up, and that should be fun. Wrist check. Wrist check. I know it's crazy boring to some people, but I have just been wearing this watch. Wearing it. What a piece. I mean, it just blows me away. I mean, I've owned one of the white dialed ones for a long time, and it's never really moved me that much. This one, I mean, it's just when I saw the first one from the Sandwich Time channel, I was just the color of the blue, the pattern, the houndstooth pattern of the dial, the chrome accents and the white top markers and the white stripe hands. It's one of the most beautiful dials I've seen from Seiko. I just love it. And the whole combination is it's just exquisite. It's such a clean and elegant design. This is not the correct bracelet. This is actually, believe it or not, this is a 6138 8020 Panda bracelet. I did find the correct bracelet for this. It's not here yet. It's just what a watch. And I can't even really put my finger on it. It gives me this, I don't know, this is going to sound strange. It's the only Silverwave model I have seen that actively and inescapably reminded me of the ocean, of the water. It's just exquisite. It's just such a beautiful watch. And it has been a very long time since I've just been like blown away by a watch design, and all because of the color. I mean, it just ties everything together. It's just so lovely. What a watch. The ocean and the foam and the wind and the breeze. And the slap of the sail. That's what it puts me in mind of. God, what a watch. Yeah, so in answer, therefore, to Geary, Geary, just like Geary Street in San Francisco, I'm assuming. Hi, Spencer. Can you do a video on the blue 6306 of yours? Great dial. Cheers. I'd love to. It's as you can see, I love the thing. I don't want to rehash everything I just said, but it's just a beautiful watch. Beautiful watch. Okay, I want to revisit something we were talking about a few weeks ago about Seiko High Accuracy Quartz, HAQ as they are known. And I talked at that point about like the Seiko Lord quartz, which was a 7146, and that the only real difference between the 7146 and the 7126 is the circuit, which has the 7146 has temperature compensation. At that point, I had my 7123 with this snow dial that had belonged to a family friend, a gentleman, World War II vet, who'd known me since before I was born. I'd never serviced this watch, so I figured if I was going to talk about this era of quartz, maybe I should service it. So I serviced it. And there it is. I serviced it completely. So this movement, despite being pretty economical in terms of design, it is really amazing how much they did with how little they used. It's all metal. It's all metal. It's just really stripped down. Like the lower bushing for one of the gear trains is just, it's just a little hole in a the spring for the date wheel. It's crazy. The jewels, it has 2 jewels, are on the stepper motor, top and bottom. The rest of it, though, it's quite precise. It's not just like bushings. They're beautiful steel friction fit bushings, sort of high polish, almost looking like columns, and adjusted to very specific heights. This does have a variable trimmer, and I was able to get it set up. It's crazy accurate, crazy accurate. And it's extraordinarily steady. Normally, I mean, I can get a quartz watch with a trimmer to be, steady and even. But normally, when you're watching it on the time grapher on the QT99, you can see you're getting very common jumps of tenths of a second, even sometimes in the hundredth of a second, certainly. This thing, I thought the machine might be broken because it didn't change down to the hundredths. It held the same number for hours. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. This thing is stupidly accurate. It is amazing. I didn't have a correct replacement crystal for it, which is a flat one, so I used a dome. So it's got a little bit of a dome, but isn't it pretty with its beautiful snowflake dial? All for Joe Phillips. He was a dude. Somebody I knew forever. Jeff Talley. Very nice pieces. Okay, great. Wonderful. Great work as always, Spencer. Well, I wish it was always. I wish I could apprentice with you. That would be very awesome. Thanks for your videos. Well, much like until I can build a shop onto the house and have a dedicated area. I mean, not to piss off the gentleman who was annoyed about the laundry sounds, but until I can get a place that's just for this, I'm not doing anything. I've actually considered hiring somebody to help me. I've considered it more than a few times, but among other considerations, which were quite serious, I would just have no place to put them. I wouldn't know where the person would work. It would just be funky. But maybe when I get them someday, when I get the shop attachment built, then maybe so. Randy Allen. Great video, Spencer. Love how you described in detail all the areas of excessive wear from lack of service. This should be of interest to anyone who likes to brag how their watch is still running after 20 years of no maintenance. Don't worry about background noise. It's insignificant and your voice always comes through. People who complain about noise aren't really too interested in what you have to say. Thanks for your effort in producing these. Well, you're welcome. I still feel I should do better. So when people complain about something in the videos, I really do take it to heart. I'm like, I feel like I failed somebody. It is what it is. As for Seiko's running for a long time without service, that was kind of one of their things. I was thinking about it from when I was a kid, and Timex made it a point of pride that you could beat the ever-loving heck out of your watches and never maintain them, and that's fine because a Timex never stops ticking. I remember one. It's like some dude's at a truck stop and he gets out like his pocket knife and he goes down into the asphalt, the sticky asphalt, and he pries up a watch that got run over by a bunch of trucks or something, and it was still ticking. That's great. A watch that still ticks isn't necessarily an accurate watch, and so yeah, they'll keep running forever, but you don't want to tell time with them. They're more of a curiosity. And Seiko, I think, just a little bit followed that philosophy. They built their stuff a little loose, a little looser, not nearly tight tolerances, as things like a Rolex or something like that. So they have a little bit more looseness, and what that does is it allows the watch a longer running life. It just there's less contact, therefore there's less friction. Means that they're not quite as accurate, but that's the way that it goes. But still though, with maintenance, they're going to be far better than without maintenance, and it's just the way it ought to be. Clay Bergen, great narration. Well, thank you. And interesting to mentally piece together the bits that we don't see. I'm amazed how you can see things that to you are obvious, but to a non-Seikoist, not as noticeable. I also like how life is going on around you. You don't need to apologize for that. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. But, what are you going to do? Every single one of us is the hero of our own story. Everybody individually is the center of their little world. And so that, to a degree, makes everyone outside of that circle subservient to the person in the circle, because in the circle, it's your story, everything you're seeing. And so the gentleman wanted to watch a video. I don't know what was so darned important about it, but none of my videos are important. There's a lot of noise. What are you going to do? And I think the problem is some people, not necessarily this gentleman, but people generally, they tend to feel entitled. And we don't remember that through the glass and, over the computer screen and that kind of stuff, that there are actual living people there. Everybody else is faintly not entirely actually a real person, not like we are. It's hard to be mindful of people that you don't actually know. So what are you going to do? Corey Boddicker. I was just wondering if you have any advice on replacing the crown stem on a Seiko bullhead. Thanks for all your wisdom as always. Well, is the stem currently broken? Like, you have the bullhead and there's just no crown and there's like a stump of the stem inside the movement? Is that what we're talking about? Or did the stem come out and you need to put it back into the watch? I don't know. There's fixes. Any of that stuff can be fixed. It's not a problem. But you let me know. You can email me at kvw@kleinvintagewatch.com. What a great name. Aristides Lykunas. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue? Sorry, I've been reading a lot about ancient Greek history, and it's just sort of kind of neat. And that's actually, as I said, that's a lot of what this watch reminds me of. Reminds me of Greece, reminds me of the Mediterranean. That's kind of the feeling that I get from it, that particular feeling of seeing those places. I think that might be actually why I like it as much as I do, is it subconsciously reminded me a little bit of the Mediterranean, Greece, the Croatian coast, all that stuff. Beautiful. In any case, thank you for the excellent video. I very much enjoyed the detailed comparison and strip down of the quartz divers, 7548 and the 7C46. I would like to ask you to make an in-depth comparison of the automatic divers, the 7002, 7S26, 7002 and the 6309, the 6309 and the 6105. It would be very interesting to explain to us how each generation differs from the previous and tell us your opinion and which is better is why. It's a good idea. It's definitely a good idea, and there's a lot of stuff, especially talking about like 7002 versus, say, like 007s, 7002 versus 7S26. Because you can see with 7002s, with the transitions or the non-transition models, how they were warming up to the concepts and the designs that would be fully implemented with the 007, 009, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting how, because people spent so many years complaining about the 7002s, and you actually have them side by side, and you're really looking at them, you realize how, in many ways, how the 7002 is simply is actually it's made of nicer materials. It's entirely metal, versus the 7S, which has plastic day and date wheels and all this other kind of stuff. But like the case designs, the machining, it's the same thing. I mean, 7002s really are very much in the modern watch era. Very, very much so. So, yes, I'll make a note of that. Thank you, Mr. Lykunas. I hope I got that right. From watcher and commenter Undamned, I've noticed that a lot of people refer to the H558 5010, which is the stainless steel case Sports 100, as a Fieldmaster. Most other people call it the Baby Arnie. But people say, okay, so that model people sometimes call it the Fieldmaster. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe, is it that other one that's got that really rare crystal? Yeah, it might be. Anyway, referring to it as a Fieldmaster, Seiko actually referred to it in their advertising as the Survivor. That's pretty cool. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's not the Baby Arnie. It's the one that people call the Fieldmaster. Yes, it's got the compass points, cardinal points on it. Anyway, the titanium H558 5020 is the proper Fieldmaster. Okay, so now we know. 558 5010 is not a Fieldmaster, even though it has that kind of cardinal points and bezels and crap like that. You're supposed to call it the Survivor. That's pretty neat. That's some arcane knowledge. I love that kind of stuff. There's just so much to know, and you have all of you folks and everybody else, they're all doing their research and all looking at the history of these watches and come together and we pool the knowledge, and that's where it's at. The Survivor. Wow. This is from user, watcher, commenter, how? Okay. Hi, can I request if you have or can make video on how the bezel insert is placed or how to install the bezel insert for this model? Appreciate it. This person was asking about this on a video about a 6105, but it's all the same process. Sure, why not? I'll show you. Okay, replacing an insert. So, for example, here. This is entirely original watch. I'm going to ship this out to the owner tomorrow. But there's that original insert. Nice and clean. No, it's not banged up. The edges aren't horked up. And it has a slight inward cast. And that's kind of what you want for a 6309 or 7548. So, how do we put, though, an insert into a ring? Well, there's a simple trick to it. Let's see what we got here. I have a lot of rings. Let's find a good one. If I'm going to do this, let's find a good one. I want to find one that's got nice clean edges for a 6309. Ooh, that one looks good. Oh, there's a reason why. Somebody had this thing in a crash. They scraped it across the pavement. Certainly see that a lot. Ooh, that one's got a big honking dink in it. There's a broken insert for your viewing pleasure. Yeah, sure. I think that looks okay. Yeah, not a 7002 ring. Thank you very, very much. Ooh, I've got an even better example. Okay, here we have an original, worn but not beaten to death ring, and it's got an aftermarket insert in it. Okay, so we are restoring our watch. How I typically do these, I use a case knife, like so. And we want to get that old ring out of there. I mean, I can use this tool like this, but if we're not preserving this insert, we can also just push it out. But sometimes you really do need to get it like that. And you sort of work around. You always want to do the opposite side from the pip. You never want to be messing around up here, because then if you do that, you're going to end up with things like that. Pardon me. Okay, so that comes out. Ooh, and it's dirty. Well, let us pretend. Why? Okay, now we are nice and clean. All cleaned up and shiny. Ready to go. Why assemble something that's gross, right? Okay, so here there are some basic challenges, and then there are some more complex challenges. Let's sort of get at some junk here. Let's, I guess, come on, give me a case here. I mean, that'll work. Oh, but of course it doesn't have a ball and click in it. Hang on a second. Okay. Digging through all my junk, I found this empty case for 7549 7000. 1978. Anyway, for fun, so we're going to pull this ring off of here. I'll just put it to one side. We're not going to mess with it. Okay, this case is intact. It's got its click ball. Good. All right. So now let's decide on what insert. Now, something to think about too is, believe it or not, these 754 8s and 6309s and stuff like that, they use sometimes the same insert as a 6105. The thing, though, is that the 6105 insert is thinner. I'm sorry, the 6105 insert is thinner than 6309 or 7548. And so sometimes you'll get the thin ones for a 6105 and a 6309, and what they'll do to take up that extra height is they'll use a shim. This shim specifically takes up that height to make the 6105 thinner insert tall enough so that the edge is here. That's the way these work, and they're interchangeable. A lot of times you'll see a 6309 and it won't have that shim. So you have to make sure what you're doing. Like, you can't put a 6309 thick insert into a 6105, it won't work. Other way, yes, but then you have to have the shim. Okay. Here we are. We have our new ring. We need to make sure that it's aligned correctly. Seiko did not really index these click points and the ball where it sits. So you can't just say, oh, well, it's going to go here and that's the way it's going to be. So we need to make sure that we're indexing. So that's where that is. I always start here. I don't do the whole thing. I start here. Okay, let's find a good ring. Good original worn ring that maybe would be interesting at some point to do something with. That's a nice ghost insert there. There's a ghost insert. Well, that's a ghost insert too. Man, I'm sorry that that's broken. Well, that sucks. Look at that fade. Well, that's hard to do. That's not original. That's worn as hell. Let's see if I got anything better in here. Drop in. No. That one's not bad. That's not bad. That one's not bad either. I don't know. I actually think this is the best one. So, let's see what we've got now in terms of thicknesses. Is this a 6105 or 6309? I'm just going to do this right here. Well, I tell you, it feels like that one is thinner, and that's because it is. By total happenstance, this is a 6105 insert. This is a 6309. Okay. Yeah, you can just feel them if you hold it like this. 6309. That's not a bad looking one, is it? 6309. 6105. That's another 6105. Okay, so we're going to go with one of the 6309 ones. We're going to choose. We're gonna act like we're gonna build this into a watch. You can see the case definitely has some wear, some lume damage on the dial, sun faded a titch. It certainly had a working life. So then it's a matter of deciding which one actually let's see which one looks right. Don't worry if it has a missing pip, I can always replace that. That's not bad. You know, I think it's not just this loom pip. I think overall, no, I lied. I'm going to go with this one. Okay, so you're going to redo your thing. Let me flatten this out. Okay, so what we do is I will hold it like this. I'll make sure that the ring is locked. And I come over here and I want to line up the chapter ring and everything else like that. I want to make sure that it's sitting correctly. And so what I do is I just kind of press it in a little bit right there. And let's, oh, didn't that pop out? Try it again. So you're going to want to just use your fingers and you just go around just a little bit, not long, just enough to hold it in place. And there's a couple ways to do it. If you can get it to stay on its own, that's great. But what we're also doing is we're looking where the midpoint is of the pip. Boom, boom. And see, look, it's not centered. It's not here. It's not here. It's kind of in the middle, like on this edge. Like right there, that's where the midpoint is for the clicker. But let's see if I can get that. Maybe I'll get that snapped in a touch. That's fighting me. Come on. Okay, so that one's not gonna sit in for me because it's a little warped. I don't want to take all your time, but the nice thing is we remember where that midpoint is. Right like that. Right like that. So now, okay. Oh gosh, I lied. I screwed up. This is a 6105 one. So I'm going to need to put a shim on the bottom of it. Because if I want to use that, that's what I got to do. It's a... Now, that... I'm not saying that having a thin one is wrong. I think Seiko used both in models that they were producing and also as service parts. So anyway. Come on. Don't tell me you're the wrong size. Come on. Ah! Sebastian's having a good day. Hang on. Okay, so here's the next thing. Something that people tend to do, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can try to press flat down, but that runs a risk that if you force it and this doesn't meet in, it doesn't click in, you'll just bend off part of the thing. So I use a different method. I never use a crystal press on these. This is a set of sort of peculiar pliers specifically made for working on binoculars. But you get the idea. The jaws are rubber. So what I do with this, rather than pushing down, I push in and down using leverage. Holding the ring in place until I'm sure it is going where I want it to go. And I want to start to make sure that this is protected. And then, once it's starting to lock in, I'm going to work my way around both sides. And you can see that it forces in fairly nicely. This one might be a little hairy because the insert is... I wonder if this whole ring is warped. It looks okay to me. I probably gave myself some extra challenges I didn't want by trying to do it this way. Also, too, I'm trying to do this through the lens of my phone rather than looking at it directly. Come on. Give me that nice, clean snap. Well, I mean, I guess it's a good thing to do because I'll show that this process works even with a warped ring and a warped insert. But basically what I'm doing is I'm just going around and dropping in like this. This way, like right here, where the insert catches right there, if you just put this on a press, it'll shave off part of that properly. So you want to try to get it in and down. Come on. I'm going to have to look at this real close. And so that's done. Normally it's nowhere near that much work. But I had a warped ring and a warped insert, and I had to get the shim in here, which is still not quite sitting correctly, but I'll work on it. So there it is. Oh, Sebastian's here to say hi. Give me that stuff. How you doing, Sebastian?
Good.
Oh, are you having fun? What? What are you doing? What? See, it's my hand. Any case, let me talk to the people. So that's how we do it. So if we want to, you know, that's how you align this stuff and do it. You just, to recap, you make sure, one, you've got the right insert. Hang on, buddy. Then make sure you got the right insert and whether it needs a shim or not. Then you start here, you click it in there, and you work your way around. I don't recommend pushing straight down, push in and down. I use these kind of specialized tools, but there has to be something else that will do the job. But with that, and there it is. And I think that looks, it's pretty beat up, but it goes with the rest of the watch, right? And it's original. Okay, Sebastian wants to say something. Sebastian, you can go ahead and talk.
So, my name is Sebastian. You just click the watch strap on.
That's the way you do it. Okay, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'm going to butcher this. I'm so sorry. Milosemejor. I hope I got that right. Kind of right. Hi, I'm a huge fan of your YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I need to produce better quality for everyone, including you. I love specifically the mail call videos. Well, guess what? You're on one. I have a question and I wonder if anyone can help me. I recently bought a watch on eBay, a Seiko 820 Sportsmatic 17 Jewel Diashock. It has a broken stem and crown. I have a local watchmaker who told me that he can't find these parts. I've been reading and it seems that Seiko changed their naming convention for movements in the mid-1960s. Yes. And that this movement is also known as the 7625. When I look online, I can find parts for the 7625 movement, but I can't find anything for an 820. I wonder if the parts for a 7625 will work for this watch. Generally, yes. They're going to be... They recalculated how they did their numbering and their case numbering and their movement numbering, and they changed all that stuff. That's when they went from a 7-digit serial number to a 6-digit serial number, and everything changed because of how much their business market share had grown since the 1964 Olympics, and that they were producing so many watches now at that point that they had to rework everything. So they should work, yes. And the nice thing is 7625s, 7626s, 760s, any of those, they're actually pretty inexpensive. Like you can find, because they're sort of an unknown movement and they have a reputation for being kind of janky and weird, but that's really only because of how the date driving wheel setup is built. If you try to reset at the wrong time, that's that thing will explode. Like the spring and the lever and the wheel, it's all pinned together, poof, goes into pieces. But they're good watches, and they're underappreciated, and they have some really lovely ones. They do have some lovely ones. And, people are looking for real quality and affordable prices to get into these vintage watch stuff. And I tell you, those watches, that era of dress watch and watches like that, there's a lot of great values out there. There really are. For reference, the parts my watchmaker told me that I needed are the stem 354820 and crown 40 MK1NN1. The information on the case at the back of the watch is Seiko Sportsmatic Calendar 820 EGP 15040D. Okay, well, I can tell where your watchmaker is getting his info from because there's a 0 on the front of the stem number. That's a Jules Burrell thing. The actual part number by Seiko is just the 6 digits. Cut off the 0, you don't need it. 354, which is Seiko's number for stem, and 820 for the 820 movement. Isn't that interesting? So you have this part, 7625, that you're looking up these parts that he is, and you go to the you go to the stem, and the stem part, the 3-digit thing, it references the original base movement. So I think that's a pretty good sign, don't you? That crown, Seiko made so many. So what that is, okay, Sebastian, he does this. We have a thing called a step stool for like kitchen and stuff, and it's made in the 1950s by a company called Kramer with a C. It's called a Kramer Kickstep, and they're still made today. They're like $50 or $60. This one's literally from the 50s. Hard rubber wheels, though, on hardwood floors. It's loud. Sebastian likes to get on it, and he sort of scoots around on it. Sounds like a jet's flying over the house. But anyway, 40 MK1 NN1 crown. You might call Burrell. You might use that number and look on eBay. You could Google both these things, that crown and that stem. Seiko made a bajillion different crowns. And everyone had a different number. And I'm not aware currently of a sub list for what you can do on this or that. And frankly, a lot of the naming conventions about the crowns, I'm not really familiar with when they get, really into stuff. Oh yeah, that was a thing I never answered because I wanted to. It was Clee Bergen's question. I'll come back to that. So that's what I would do is I would Google that stem number 354820 and that crown, see if you can get them. I just don't know of a substitute off the top of my head. You should be able to find both parts. Oh, well, that stem certainly is no problem. Gosh, I'm sure I have a few. I must. I don't know. Who knows? Okay, I am gonna go back here because something I did want to see. Clay Bergen. I'm amazed how you can see things that to you are obvious, but to a non-Seikoist is not noticeable. Because I didn't answer that. Well, the thing is I have a deep well of knowledge, very deep well of knowledge about a tiny range of subjects. So yeah, I mean, I know a good amount about Seiko's output during the Golden Age, 1964 to like 1988, if you ask me. But it's pretty limited there. And yeah, I know a lot of details about it. I by no means know everything, but I work on basically the same models over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And so after a while, you pretty much, you get you spot things that are out of place. Very quickly. It's one of the reasons, like when you first start learning how to work on watches, if you focus on a single movement, a single caliber, and you do it over and over and over and over and over again, so you become intimately familiar with that caliber, and also with the basics of horology. You don't have to worry about being confused by things being in different places or having to like memorize the movement. You'll memorize it automatically as you do it, as you go through again and again and again. So it's obvious to me because that's what I look at all day long. But if you hold me out in front of the botanical gardens and said, well, and it looked at me, I wouldn't be able to name a single plant, I don't think. You know what I'm talking about. I know a lot about a little. Slim. Last question. I am servicing a 6309. After a few rounds of cleaning, disassembly, and reassembling, I'm getting the same result. An excellent trace, zero bead error, clean straight lines, but poor amplitude at full wind, like 215 degrees max. I use a replacement mainspring from Auto Fry. Should I try the original mainspring? I mean, you can. It's rare for me, but I mean, the new mainspring shouldn't be a problem. Also, the escape wheel jewel on the train bridge looks replaced, as it is not a cupped jewel, but flat. Not sure if this is a feature of early 6309s. No, but it's a feature of late ones. Absolutely. Sometimes they were flat. I have seen them on the very late ones. The diameter is going to be the same though. So if you have a jewel, if you feel that jewel is suspect, you can swap in an older style jewel, or you can swap out the whole bridge. Let's see. Maybe this is an obvious question. I just thought it was so dang weird to see a great operating result in terms of other numbers, but such poor amplitude. I see it a fair amount. I do. The way to deal with that when you have a mystery is, and all of these are just my rules for me. Every one of these rules exists because I was screwing something up, or I wasn't checking something the right way. So if I have a problem like that, I'm going to want to look at the pivots first, each individual pivot, each individual wheel. Don't try to fix multiple things at a time or identify a bunch of stuff all at the same time. Look at one thing. So you want to make sure that the pivots are, the pivots inside their bushings or whatever. Inside their bushings, whatever. How about that? You want to make sure that you don't have too much up and down action. You definitely want to make sure you don't have much side to side action. Fourth wheel upper pivots, they tend to wear pretty seriously. I don't know why Seiko didn't jewel every single one of those, because that one definitely should be jeweled, and it's not on the 6309. So go one wheel at a time. Take all the other wheels out and just look at each one for up and down, for any kind of rocking action. I mean, I did one of the 6309s. I did this last week. You can actually see it on the video. I was looking at the fourth wheel, and if you look at that thing, you can see the pivot bobbing up and down way more than it should. And the pivot. The bushing was bad. The wheel was okay, but the bushing was bad. The third wheel on another watch, when it didn't go up and down a whole lot, but when you would look at it, when I'd spin it, you could actually see the gear section actually was warped. And so that can cause problems with angles and architecture, leverages and all kinds of things going up and down. It could also start running into parts, and that'll drain power. You got to look at those wheels. Another one, this is real common. If you look at the center wheel, again, strip the whole movement down to the plate. Center wheel in, put the center wheel cock on, and then look at the center wheel. And again, the same thing. See if you've got lash, if it's moving up and down. I mean, you're going to want to see a little. That's fine. And it can have a little back. That's fine. But if it's like gunk, 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 and you can actually see it, especially if you can see it start to rear up, I don't know what that was about. That's stuff you all need to check. The power is getting bled off somewhere. If all of those things look good, you should do the same thing with the pallet fork. You want to see if it's got lash. You want to see if it's going back and forth. Look at the hairspring on the balance. Look at it from the side. You want to make sure that you can see it and that it's flat and plain. And as the balance turns, you can see it maybe pulsing a little bit, but it's not. You're not seeing anything going like this. You're not seeing that it's domed or cupped at all. All those little things add up to drain power. But I would start with the wheels, and again, I'm saying this from experience because I didn't follow this advice. One problem at a time. Don't try and fix multiple problems at a time, because if you fix something, you won't know why, and you might create another problem for reasons. Anyway, that's about it, folks. So, gonna get the garage cleaned up this weekend, and that means potentially we might have some more MG content. Just getting there, learning stuff. That's about it. Okay, folks. Thank you.